Okay, and we can call to order at 5:18. Mr. Holmes, anything to present or introduce? Cool. Thank you for coming. And does anybody have any changes to this current agenda? Move on to any updates from Mr. Mark Lee.
All right, presentation to update. I think Mark will elevate me or promote me. There we go.
Do you see it?
Me?
Oh, I thought it was a shot.
I can take my glasses off. Mark up, I can read.
There we go. Excellent. All right. I'm muted here. I think so. Oops. As we talked last time, the next series of steps in Harriman's progress are really starting to dig into what the conceptual design of the building might look like. So this is based on information that we've reviewed together that came out of the community forum. And so the first part of that is looking at organizational diagrams and then how those translate into a floor plan diagram. So those first two steps are what I'll share with everyone tonight. And I've got handouts that I'll wait until after. So your homework after my presentation is to take these and review them and come back on our next meeting with any potential or feedback or comments or anything like that, so that it is an iterative process of refinement as we go through this, and then takes into account your ideas as we move forward. So that in the next piece is going to start looking at taking these diagrams and start arranging them onto the site plans. And so with that, we'll move into, so we looked at two different options. The first option is a more horizontal orientation. So you'll see that as I lay things out. First thing start to do is break down all the functions into bubbles. So this is a bubble diagram. And so you can see that we've grouped the gym and fitness space together, aquatics, which are the consideration for pools. We have toilets and lockers, which share directly adjacent to gym and fitness and the aquatics. We've got a lobby, which is really the primary gathering point and orientation point in the space itself. So you come in a front door to a lobby, and then you access the other spaces from the lobby itself. We have administrative functions directly adjacent to the lobby, and then meeting rooms. And the big red triangle sort of denotes how you get into it. So think about parking, think about walking or taking public transportation. You get to the entrance, you come into the entrance, and you want to find orientation to the other functions from there. So all the little dashed lines are from the lobby. We want connectivity to all these other spaces. Some of them are really important to have right there, but they're all public facing spaces that you want directly connected to the lobby. And it starts to almost, the hierarchy starts to almost feel like other types of public buildings, or even sometimes I refer to it as even like a website. When you go onto the homepage, you want to be able to access all the really important functions right off of that. So the lobby is kind of like our homepage for the building itself. And you could flip gym and fitness and aquatics. There's no necessarily magic to where those bubbles go at this point in time. We'll look at on a site how they might rearrange based on orientation of sun around the site itself, or even some of the size of the spaces and the massing of the spaces. So those sometimes can have an impact on where we might want to put things. But in general terms, we want to be able to access all those spaces from that. The next thing we did is start to break those bubbles down into smaller bubbles underneath, and we'll start to show what those look like. But those are the more discrete spaces that we've been looking at. So the gym is the big round dot at the very top. The fitness center is cardio and weights is the smaller green dot to the left-hand side of the page. The competition pool is the large blue dot at the bottom of the page, and the recreation pool is the smaller blue dot to the left. The orange dot, so keeping these color codes the same as the administration spaces. Locker rooms are shown in the middle of the two big dots, so the big green and the big blue dot. The locker rooms are the gray bar in the middle. And then the blue dots are meeting spaces, so the meeting rooms or multi-purpose meeting space or maker space. And then the lobby is right there at the very front. And so as we called this the horizontal, you can see that there's these red bars that go through horizontally across the page. And those are representing how you might circulate from the lobby through a building itself. So they might actually start to represent corridor spaces. And so you can start to see how those might lay themselves out with major corridors in the big red bars, and then you've even got a few minor lines that might represent. So then we take that and we sort of translate that into the actual square foot numbers that we've been looking at. And so this is just another diagram. It's not a floor plan at this point, it's just taking these squares and we start to organize them, how they might lay out, but it starts to resemble what a floor plan might look like. And so so we have at the very top, we have a gym in the large green. We have a fitness center to the front of that now. So we've kind of flipped that dot. It used to be behind on the left-hand side, but that fitness center is kind of moved to the front. And then you have admin and lobby that are all kind of stacked on the right-hand side. You have the pool, the blue on the bottom with the competition pool and the recreation pool. And we'll start to look at how it might make sense why certain things are oriented or arranged in certain ways they are in a minute here, as we start to think about how we might build this in phases. And then you see we've got locker rooms and toilets and equipment storage between the gym and the pool. And there's a new box called building services, which is think about all the other utilities that we need to bring in, whether it's water, that we have to have a water service come into the building, we have to have a boiler room or a mechanical room. So those are spaces that are not function spaces, but they're important spaces to have in the building. So we've accounted for some of that. And then we're showing a series of meeting room blocks on the lower right-hand corner of this diagram. And then translating that one step further into what might start to resemble an architectural floor plan. So you can actually, this is all to scale, you can see what, and you start to see some detail in it. So it actually is striped for a full court gym with a track running around the perimeter of it. It's showing some seating, some bleacher seating on the top of the gym right now. The fitness center, again, is just a large open room at this point in time. The admin, we've sort of done a test fit to see what would fit into that. And so it shows a couple of offices, a open office space, a waiting area, some storage, a couple of toilet rooms, staff toilet rooms into that admin block itself. The meeting rooms are shown, a couple different sizes of meeting rooms. We've talked at some point about whether there's a community kitchen. There's a lot of interest in that. So that's shown a kitchen with a couple of pieces of equipment in the bottom right-hand corner of the plan itself. You can see a competition pool is shown with lanes and some seating, and then a recreation pool is shown as well. So this starts to resemble, the start of what a floor plan might look like. Now this is a sort of all in. If we were to sort of wave a magic wand and we had Uncle Harold or somebody gave us lots of money and we were able to build everything we wanted to, this is what it might look like. But as we've been talking about, we really need to come up with a phasing strategy for how we accomplish this. And so the red lines start to suggest how we might build this in a way that the building can grow over time. And if we're very thoughtful about it, that's one way of considering it. And it's in some ways it's actually how some of the facilities have grown over time, and I'll make reference to that in a minute here. But so the primary space that we identified as the base case in the first survey that we sent, or the survey that was sent out, was looking at about a 20,000 square foot facility in 2022. I'll go back and look at the numbers here, but it consisted of the lobby, an admin space, a gym, and a series of locker and restrooms and equipment storage. So that very basic footprint is what was put forward as that, and this is pretty close, I think, and when we laid this out, we're pretty much on target with what that square footage was. But then you can imagine at any, sort of, you could build in a couple of different ways, but it could grow out from there. So you could add a block of meeting rooms that's onto it next, off of the lobby. You could add on the pool, you could add on the fitness center, but the idea is that it almost provides a master plan for how you might build the facility from in different phases. So thinking about how you can add on pieces over time as funding and programs could expand.
Mark, if I
Yes,
may,
absolutely.
on the courts, is that those dotted lines, is that the walking track?
That is a representation of a walking track.
Okay, that's what I
That's
thought, thank
exactly
you.
right. Yeah. And at this point, it doesn't make, it's not cost effective to consider vertical construction. So a lot of people ask, well, couldn't we make a much smaller footprint if we started stacking program spaces? The reality is that to elevate either a gym or a pool, it starts to add up a lot of cost, and the building grows exponentially. And if you don't need to, it's more more cost effective to put it on a single level.
Yeah.
I'll pause. So this is the sort of so what this might look like as sort of phase one is something that would be a fairly simple block in the front, a lower volume block, and then you'd have the gym, which would be a taller volume, somewhere probably around 26 feet. And then you've got the equipment storage and locker rooms that would be a lower volume as well.
Would it make sense, Mark, in the area where you've got the fitness center, to swap it out with, say, the kitchen and some meeting space? Only because I'm thinking it was been talked about a place people could come hang out, and spend time, and so that we, even the base building would have that. And there was also talk that the select board didn't want to compete with private businesses.
Yeah.
So maybe not do the fitness center.
Yeah.
Because private businesses do that, but have the kitchen nearby the big assembly room, so it could be rented out for a wedding or something.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I'll try to see if I can. My cursor should. Yeah, you can see a little cursor right here, but you can imagine if we took maybe 2 or 3 meeting rooms and a kitchen, and you could just take that block and you could fit it right up here. Now the fitness center or a fitness room is not included in the base cost estimate that we did. So that I just want to be clear that red line that we're showing here shows what the basic, but we can, and the nice thing is we have, approximate costs, and we'll start to look at those a little bit more refined since the last time we put them together, but we can look quickly at what adding that amount of square footage and those functions are onto the program itself. But yeah, think of the fitness could go down, or the fitness could go in the back, or we can move things around on the plan itself. It's good comment.
I actually like the meeting rooms off the lobby. I don't know, just because I like Wiscasset where you walk in and it's the lobby area, and then they've got seating right there. It's very welcoming, and there's a little kitchen and tea and relax, but.
They don't need to go into the building if they don't have to.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it could just, because we talked about how the entranceway could be a place for people to come and ask questions, that kind of thing.
Yeah, oftentimes, and there's a couple different thoughts about the administration. If the admin is functioning as the reception to the space, it's important to have it next to the lobby. But if it's more administrative and you have a front desk, for instance, then you wouldn't necessarily need to have that block right adjacent to the lobby either. That could be more of a private function. It could become more remote to the lobby itself. So, because everything's gonna wanna compete for attention at that lobby or access at that lobby.
Is there a way to create maybe a hover, when you hover over a certain section of that diagram, it gives you the breakdown of the cost of each section? So say that's a $30 million diagram, the court is 10, if you hovered, you know what I mean, like.
Yeah,
Please, no.
right.
If you could like
Not-
move each spot, I'm just curious whether, cause it's interesting to know like.
This is what you get for 2.5.
Right,
This is
right,
what you get for 4.
Yep.
And I think with that is similar to the questionnaire that we did. This is a $200 impact on your taxes. This is those are important numbers to have because it seems that that's what everybody's talking about.
Sure, absolutely, and I think we can, because we already started that process. And so I think just go back and correlate those, it'd be a pretty easy process.
Well, I'm just kind of thinking that if we were able to do our high school over again, we would have made a lot of changes, right? And they would have cost a lot less when we were building it than they would now at this point. This is obviously very thoughtful that we're creating a space for future potential, but sometimes it's a little bit less expensive if we do it while we're.
It's almost
Building.
always less expensive now than it will be in the
Right,
future.
yeah.
Even thinking about present value of money and future value of money, construction costs tend to escalate at a higher rate than generally inflation happens. And so we've certainly seen that over the last, I'll say, 5 or 10 years that construction costs have escalated. Even though we've had high inflation, we've also had a lot of other pressures pushing construction costs to be much higher.
Mhm. And is there a minimum amount of restrooms per square foot for a building like this?
Yeah, so the way that the code looks at it, they look at the number of people that you would be able to fit into the space, not even the number that are gonna be there, but the number you could fit into it. That's an occupant load that's determined by the code. And then that drives what you need for toilet rooms, so. Absolutely.
Well, I think more of if there is a pool, sharing a restroom, the common restroom with people that use the pool just tends to be a little bit different of a restroom versus other locker rooms or restrooms. So if there is a need for more restrooms, I would say limiting it to the pool having its own.
Set of restrooms.
Yeah.
I already sent my ideas to Mark, but one difference that I had fun with designing this was just what Steve just said. You can't have a wet locker room next to a public locker room, also in the gym locker room. So on my design, I had public bathrooms just off the large open lobby that are totally visible. The snack bar is off the lobby, so somebody could come in and have a cup of coffee and then sit down on the sofa, and then I drew locker rooms on both the gym side and the pool side, so. I'll pass those around if you wanna see
Go for
my
it.
fun that I did, because everybody in Mount Era at our event had fun doing the blocks, but we didn't get to do that.
Right.
So I sat down and I did,
I'm glad you did.
I thought maybe I failed architecture 101, because you didn't answer me back.
No, it's that we were just moving forward with some thoughts that originally that we had, so, but I appreciate, Gavin, that you sent that along, so wonderful.
Are the ways
There's one
marked,
for everybody.
are the ways marked to deal with restrooms so that we don't have fights in future years about transgender, this sexes, are the ways to make them more?
Be curious to see what on the tours, we got to
Yeah,
bring some of
I
that
have
information
pictures
forward.
in South Portland in particular, they had issues a few years back, and they have a men's and a women's locker room, and then they have a corridor in the middle that has 4 private use changing rooms where anyone, whether you're maybe a breastfeeding mother or transgender
comfortable.
situation, that you have that opportunity or that space that's for you.
Yep.
And I have pictures of it when we get to that.
Well,
Exactly.
the other thing too is potentially down the road, if we do get summer camps and stuff, you're not gonna want those
Kids
kids
and
in
everything.
those locker rooms, you know, you're gonna
Did you
want.
notice they didn't have them in the locker room at the pool that day?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Wiscasset has family locker rooms, so single, like, almost like what you're describing,
Yeah.
Pam.
Yeah.
They have an age limit in the locker room, I think it's 4 and up,
I don't know, look at that sign every time I go.
or 4, yeah,
Think I
4
remember.
and up can't be in the opposite gender.
Well, and again, so your homework, like Kathy did, is you're gonna take these floor plans I'm gonna give you and you can start. Just one option per person, please, okay? So
Why do you look at you, Allison?
I fill up 5 brackets every,
do you?
for
Yeah.
marshmallows.
Well,
You might get more than one.
so another consideration is just looking at things a little differently, and that's kind of a vertical orientation. So instead of having the toilet room lockers that had circulation on both sides, this one organizes things similarly in the way of, again, puts gym and fitness and aquatics opposite locker rooms with with a lobby and meeting rooms and admin. But sort of jump right to this. So this shows using a vertical circulation bar that organizes things around it. That locker rooms are directly adjacent to the gym, competition pool, and some of them, like I think, for instance, Waterville has the locker rooms directly connected to the pool, but they use the same locker rooms for the gym, but if they're needed, but they
Hallway.
exactly, there's a
Yeah.
hallway between them. So the idea that you wouldn't necessarily need both to be connected directly, but you could have locker rooms connected to competition or to a pool side of it. So,
South Portland had lockers along the wall
mm.
in the corridor.
Yeah, Waterville actually added a bunch of day lockers as well for people to come in, store their materials if they didn't necessarily go change.
Yeah, and Wiscasset just has a bunch of cubbies, so when the people are playing pickleball in the cubbies, they can just put their coats and
Right in the cubbies.
whatever, so.
And coin-fed lockers.
Going bed.
How big are the buildings?
Skiing lockers.
Very basic.
Exactly what I'm talking about.
And so this is, again, just another way of organizing things where, in this one, you've got a common, it has a common corridor so that you could, use that space to connect back and forth. So this one divides it, into a locker room here and a locker room here, and you can imagine, again, that it's very easy to organize, a family locker room as well, but having a corridor that you can go back and forth on the from the private side, but you also have access on the public side too. This is showing some amount of spectator seating in the pool. The other one did as well, but so those are decisions too, because adding square footage for spectator seating is adds volume and space to it, but it's also really helpful and important because there are a lot of pools that don't even have that much in the way of seating for events as well. This one shows, again, keeping the admin just to lobby, but then it also, it kind of flips and puts the meeting rooms up at the top with kitchen up here, and then shifts the fitness room to the top area. So again, if that's a future consideration or easy to add on in that way as well. And so and thinking about what that base scenario might look like, or you could look at expanding to include meeting rooms, some or all the meeting rooms, and how the first block of the building might look. And so that's kind of the first step. Like I said, the next step is to have you folks take a look at this, provide some feedback and thoughts to it. We're going to work on some of the site information on the next one and start to look at what massing, building massing is looking at what the volume and the shape of the building might look like as well. So that's what's coming forward. It's next night, what I'll do is I'll bring back the costs that we had originally shown, just as a starting point, but our idea is to do the estimate based on a little bit further refinement of what we actually consider putting into the building itself, and that's step 6. And so, but we can, to your point, see if we can start looking at what these squares might cost us if we add them into the building itself. With that, that is my update.
Beautiful.
So, and like I said, I'll pass around the plans. Two here.
Option C.
Correct.
Oh, come on.
I like it. Thank you. Very much. Only made one change so far.
Okay.
Great, thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate that. Does anybody have anything else to add to Mark's update? We can move on to our brainstorming section.
How do you want the information?
Oh, so if you want to doodle and take a picture of your phone and send it to me, you can do that. If you want to create your own sketch, if you want to build it in Lego, you can do that, take a picture, whatever you want to do. And just send that, you can email it to me. All right.
Can I ask a question? On this,
Absolutely.
other than the one I just asked? Was there any consideration to putting some, the building, like building services stuff or anything like that, doing a small section of the floor plan in a basement style, putting them underground, maybe that space is less expensive than adding an entire different building for a space?
Yeah, we look at that carefully, but if we're gonna do a partial, full foundation, then we have to add circulation to get down there. And so, and sometimes depending on what we put down there, we may need not only just one stair, we need to have 2 means from every level of the building. So that starts to add to it at times as well. And then what we're doing is we're buying not just the foundation, we have to buy waterproofing around the foundation because we're now going down below and almost creating a area that is below the water table for most sites. And then the other consideration is that you then are framing a floor in addition to framing a roof. So it's kind of a trade-off, but almost most of the time, unless there's an efficient way of building it into the site itself, we would find it actually to be more expensive to be able to do just a partial foundation.
So these are essentially crawl spaces that we're looking at, or?
You know, it'd be a slab on grade, right, exactly. So you pour slabs, your foundation walls go down to below frost. So most of the times in the state of Maine, you're down to about 5 feet to the footing. And so you're doing a frost wall, and then that's the most cost-effective way of doing it. So that goes up, and then you build your slab on the soil itself, so you don't have to elevate it. So if we frame a floor like most houses, then you're gonna spend all that cost to actually create that framing, and that gets pretty expensive when you're thinking about it over the expanse of a building. And so it's far more cost effective just to build that concrete slab on the grade on the ground itself. So,
Now, in regards to putting a pool in, then you're going to be doing some of that, and we had a conversation today in regards to how Bowdoin College deals with their pool and the water table.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful in when you.
Absolutely. So because again, we're looking at putting a pool, you know, significantly below the ground level, but we're also not framing a floor at the pool. So we have a lot more cost. Just the concrete is retaining earth. There's a lot of earth pressure and water pressure, and you got to balance that. And so it's a big reinforced concrete structure that we have to essentially put in there. we still have to waterproof it, and we have to provide access to a lot of the utilities around the pool itself. And so that complicates it. Pools are the most expensive part of any of these centers. They're just expensive to construct, they're expensive to maintain, both from an operational perspective, but over time, they're the areas of these buildings that require the most upkeep. So you've got to really be on top of, because the humidity and just takes its toll on equipment, and just the entire environment can be pretty harsh for building systems.
In our visit to South Portland, and this is just, I know we'll talk about it a little bit later, but they have a pool person that's a certified pool person that maintains and takes care of that entire portion of the building. And he has instructors and people who do things under him, but he's the certified one that does all of, you know, does all the testing, the maintenance and that portion of it. And it is a full-time job in itself for the pool. So those are things when we're looking at operational costs, that it's not, oh, we have a pool, the director can take care of it. It's that you have to have someone who's certified and capable to keep all those in balance and check.
Yeah, and if you don't put that investment up front or maintaining, it catches up to you pretty quickly.
Anytime you go below ground or above ground, you're obligated to have an elevator, probably three.
So not necessarily, so if we're putting a bunch of services below grade, like mechanical room or things like that, then we're not required to put an elevator. Anytime we stack spaces that have to be accessible to the public, that's when we have to put an elevator in.
So when you put the walking track around upstairs, you have to have an elevator to get to.
Correct.
I may have missed what the gray area is.
Locker rooms, and let's see, so that most of it is these are shown as the little white squares are lockers, and then toilets, and sinks.
Got it. I thought it was storage, okay, because I see equipment storage,
right
okay.
there, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
And moving right along to the brainstorming session. Regarding fundraising ideas. Still a couple of meetings, I guess.
Mark, we're gonna talk to, was it the attorney or someone about, we had like a holding fund?
I haven't done that yet.
Oh, okay, alright.
Yeah.
Unless someone has something that they're.
My question.
Yeah.
I guess, Mark, my question is, to what extent do you support us in these next steps for fundraising? I have I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
You might be able to reference what it is, what that is even here, because partnership opportunities is something that I think that is part of our contract, but.
Yeah, so we can look to see if potential partners that you might work with as far as businesses or other nonprofits that offer the same services, but as it gets into actually outreach to folks to do fundraising, that is not part of our scope, but we don't have expertise in that. We're not fundraising consultants, but there are several out there that help with that process.
Okay. Well, what are the next steps? I think that's just sort of the question of where we stand, right?
In regards to fundraising,
Mhm.
we can't fundraise until we have more concrete direction.
Yeah, but I think the idea was that we were going to take an opportunity to jot down what avenues we would look to pursue. So that when the report's ready, we can say, should we move forward with it? Here's our suggestion for design, and here's what we would like to do for potential fundraising opportunities. So I think that's what we were hoping to start to document.
Lynn, if you remember, you and I, when we were at the dump passing out information, we wrote down a whole bunch of things on a smaller level.
Yeah.
We need bigger companies to help us know how to promote big, but we talked about a movie night, a family night, bingo, a dinner option, a golf tournament, Olympics, a 5K, a raffle, and food trucks. just little things we could do ourselves throughout the year. And not needing a professional to help us with that. Obviously, we need someone in the professional end to help us with the big major fundraisers.
So what if I create a Google sheet that I share access to all of you, and all of those type of ideas and things people can just go in and list them? And that way we can kind of have a running, does that make sense, or would you rather do it another way?
Oh, that's a good start.
And it probably doesn't hurt to think about who is gonna be in charge of the fundraising. I know some of you had mentioned that. But to kind of know who are gonna focus on that portion when the time comes.
I think it's also very important to understand, with all due respect, the fundraising, I think we need to be talking about is not really something you can get out of a bake sale or things like that. So it's a much larger scope than, I mean, a golf tournament can bring in $3,500 profit, maybe,
Fine.
3,500, 5,000, okay, but
I
still, we're
I know
we're
they
talking
are very
about,
large,
we're
but
talking about
yeah.
paper towels for
I
the
know.
year at the community center. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of time to put into these. I mean, fundraising needs to be a much more serious discussion than, I mean, we can all create funds in the small scope. I it's fun, but
Would it be worth looking into the groups that do or help people to fundraise, and just at least to bring that to the select board and say, this group exists, this is what they do, this is how much it costs.
Right.
Right, something like that, would that be helpful?
I can tell you, I know the swinging bridge or not the swinging bridge, but the river walk, when we were in phases of creating that, when Brunswick, they're in a different set now, but originally did hired someone who came in and did a workshop on how to do the corporate fundraising and how to start that and how to step through it.
Right.
Yeah.
And if that's just part of our presentation, that makes sense.
This was the thing that I was talking about at one meeting, that the hockey
I like that.
passed out.
Yeah.
For those of you that didn't make it to that, that was really a nice.
So that is something that we can do those fundraisers to create.
Yeah.
If we needed to.
So I'll create a Google sheet and share it with you guys, and you can at least begin to put notes and thoughts in there.
And if people know about the organizations that help support groups, can we put it in that document, and then we can go from there to reach out to them and just get a pamphlet from them, and just, whatever information we can gather. We've got 3 of them, I don't know if 2 or 3 of them, it would be maybe more helpful than none, I guess.
I wanted to say, wasn't there one time that Mark Lee had a contact with a group that did this? And
Yeah, I'm trying to think, so one of them is actually actively working with a client in Topsham, so she may not be available too, but she may know a few folks that do it, so to make sure.
This is more.
So I will reach out and find out.
Okay,
Yeah. She will list a few of these.
Great. great.
It might stick out to me as writing all the notes, I feel like I've written it.
I think you have it.
Also curious what all the volunteers, there was a lot of people that volunteered to help with the fundraising idea, and I'm wondering if they all had ideas, large scale somehow.
Well, and that's
You know
the
what I
kind of thing
mean?
we could present to the select board, is that, we have this group of people, we'd like to do a open forum with all of them, or, something to help get started, so that's a step towards fundraising, is
Well, that-
accessing these people.
Yeah, should we put that under here, is maybe start creating an email of the people that offered to help with fundraising and see what it was they were offering to help with?
I personally think it's more an action step, should we be given the next steps, the next part of the task.
I think you'll make the decision easier for the select board if you do what you suggested, Dan. If you reach out and say, here's some ideas, here's the people willing to do, because it helps show them that there's realistic hope that, a certain amount could be fundraised or something. Why don't you,
I'll add that, I'll put 3 sections to the Google Sheet so we can just plug them in.
Great.
Okay?
If it's okay for us to move forward on that, yeah.
because you're not actually fundraising, you're just reaching out to find.
Yeah, and we're making the list and the plan.
I think there's no harm in anybody at any time looking into fundraising, because the reality of it is, it's gonna be a very expensive building, and there's just as many people that we get emails from that don't want this because of the tax hike or fear of the tax hike. And say that we should stop the process right away, and we have to remind them that, look, this is the process to go, because I think everybody can agree. If there was a community center in this town that had no cost whatsoever, in a best case scenario, there's not a person in this town that would deny it. And you would have broad support, so I do agree with Steve, I think the financial aspect of this is important, but it has to be on a much larger scale than, I mean, look, you could do 20 different fundraisers that each raise $5,000, but you're still less than 10% of your building raised, and how many years is it gonna take to do that? And how much time is it gonna take an organization, and it's just something that would just not inevitably happen. You know, I think the idea of just large scale funding. Someone needs to donate $1 million or $500,000, or need to have matching funds to go with. If you donate X amount, we'll match X amount, and I think that could be something that could be tolerated to maybe a discussion on the board of what is it that we think would be doable for the town as far as what we could match. Maybe that's a starting point, but I do think the less the town puts out, the more likely this will take place, and that's gonna take some time. So the sooner we work on fundraising or funding options, I think the better off everybody is.
So maybe that's what we call it, we don't call it fundraising, we
Yeah.
call funding options, and then we have components underneath it.
I
Okay?
like that because I hesitate because I don't wanna put the cart before the horse. I don't want it to be put out there that we're fundraising, right? Cause we're not, but we're looking at funding options. I like that. That makes me
I
feel
know,
better.
It
when
does have to
the minute you
happen.
said it, I was like,
Yeah.
that's what you wanna
Good.
talk, how
Okay,
you wanna
great.
reference it.
I feel better
I
about
think it
that.
has to happen simultaneously, though,
Okay.
because in order for people to make the vote, whether they want it or not, they're gonna wanna know, how much is this costing? And if there's no answer, then I think it's an easy vote no for a lot of people, but if there's some kind of
Okay.
option or guarantee that the taxes aren't gonna go up more than a percentage point or something like that, because, I mean, let's face it, our taxes go up a lot every year. And I know as a select board member, we get a lot of emails about increased taxes, even though we're not the big piece of it, it's part of our town, unfortunately. Good, the bad, the indifferent.
And on behalf of some of the smaller events, if we end up doing those, really, basically, the only benefit for those is visibility. It shows the town that you're doing something.
Yeah.
That's
And the
And those are
excitement
important, I agree.
and the camaraderie, and we're not just sitting here at meetings, we're out having fun and doing things.
We're
Trying to
actually
save the
providing
town
one of
money.
the things they asked for, which is a community event,
Activities.
belonging to a community
And
event.
those can be also fundraised for specific things within the community center, because they're smaller numbers.
Yeah.
Like, we're fundraising for the concession stand, we need to raise $25,000 to build the concession stand that we want, maybe a little bit larger than what the plan allows, or, I'm making that up, but you get my point. There's things within, or fundraising for bleachers, or fundraising for scoreboards, or the equipment going in, some of the smaller stuff would make a lot of sense for fundraising because it's a smaller scale, not associated with building costs.
So we need to write an email to send to those
Well, I was
people?
gonna say, if the committee wants me to, I can take the survey results where the people signed up and said they would be interested and draft something and.
Or at least start with the list. and
Yeah,
have
start with the
somebody
list,
have-
yeah.
There might be somebody in there, they offered to do it for a reason, and I don't think it was to have bake sales.
Yeah, people don't touch that lightly,
Right,
when they sign up for things like that.
and I
so.
love the idea, Kathy, but I'm wondering if maybe the vocabulary used, like fundraising to me always seems like another
Work.
grab. Like people are just asking for more money, so maybe there's a way to hide it a little bit.
Have the activity be fun.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, movie night or, something, right?
And didn't we have someone from one of our focus groups that she said she had experience with writing grants?
Yes, the first one.
Yeah, I don't remember her name.
We have, I know we
I
have,
wasn't
I have it
at,
written
I
down.
wasn't at the first
We,
one.
it's
I
in
was at
there,
every
I
other
might
one,
have the
but it's
notes
in the
for
no,
that.
I have the
No, I,
notes.
yeah, I have the list, and I
Yeah.
could, once I see the name, I'll
I
know
don't
who
wanna
it was,
pull all
but
this
yes,
stuff out,
And
but
maybe
it's in
we
there
should
somewhere.
reach out to her too and see if she,
yeah,
number one, would still be interested.
I'll look up her name tomorrow
And
and
she
know
could
it
give
to
us
you.
some guidance.
So I have down Lynn to draft an email of
Yeah.
what we would send out to previous respondents to the survey.
And I'll
Who
add
have
it.
The
expressed
fourth
interest,
component
yeah.
to the Google Sheet, grant resources.
Perfect. Awesome.
Would we consider having a night where people come, not necessarily a meeting, but just that group of whoever's interested to come and brainstorm?
I think so.
Is that
Yeah.
what we're- okay.
For sure.
I think we got more excitement when we had the focus group or the community
Mhm.
forum than we did for many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, just timing wise, would that be April-ish, maybe?
You're also reaching out to specific people this time instead of just a blanket, so I think the reception will be quicker than before, so I think we should jump on it sooner than later.
March?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not the 17th. Do we wanna come up with a potential date if we're gonna throw it out there?
Yeah, I'm just thinking timeline wise, when we're presenting back to the select board.
Well, are we gonna meet
Gathering
with them as a whole committee, or how is that gonna?
And we invite whoever's interested to,
Maybe that can
One
be
or
part of
two
your
times.
draft, where you just say, and if you are interested, would you be willing to come in at a specific date?
I think we draft the email. If we communicate on the draft of the email and the number of people we wanna send it to, we could send it out and I think we would still pick a date in April, cause by that time, hopefully you have responses and maybe you could say 10 people would really like to meet live and we could pick a date then. I think it might be too hard to pick a date now, not having any idea if it would be
With
one
what you
person
have.
or
Right,
12
right.
together.
Yeah.
So I think we do the draft of the email, then get that sent out and
Yeah.
then see how many people are interested.
Right. Maybe they all change their mind,
Right?
or maybe they have friends to bring.
yeah, right, right.
And I also think in the email, a due date of response would be important.
Oh, yeah,
So
Yeah.
people need that these days.
Okay.
Seems
Thank you.
great, awesome. Are we ready to move on to number 6? Yes, all right. Let's discuss reference to transparent conversations with the town members, the fact sheets.
everyone have their copy?
Do you want me to start?
Sure.
So, from the suggestion from the audience last time, we decided to get together and put together a very high level timeline of what we have done. And, so Lynn and I put this together, and I don't know if I
Brian, there's
have-
copies, if
Up
you
there.
wanna see it. It says
Pam, I know we
fact
didn't really describe this in the email, but my thought is if we could take this as a live document, put it on the page, have printouts available, but then have postcards that we all have a bunch of them, just like the community forum one,
With the,
with the QR code and the address. And then every time we add a new element to it, we just keep adding it to this sheet. So this is a live document, which we can print out at any time and have a few at town hall or whatever, have a few at the library. But then we have postcards and then maybe the front of it's like just the facts or give me the facts. On the back, we can say 3 bullet points, kicked off in 2019, this is where we are, planning stage right now. And then that's something we can hand out, that's something anybody could hand out in the community when they ask questions about it, when there's concerns. We have a postcard with 2 or 3 facts and then it brings them right to this that will be a living document.
I think that's perfect.
So we took all the information and Leslie provided a bunch too, but our goal was not to put every minute detail of everything we did
On the card,
and on the card, and we dug through a lot of previous
just like what we
minutes.
did with the workshop.
minutes and agendas. And looking back at a lot of previous minutes, I see now why you guys like these.
It's not just that.
That's great.
So, we're putting this out to you guys to say, are there any changes, anything that's inaccurate, especially to those that have been here the whole time?
No, I read through it and kind of looked at that when you sent it, yes, and no, I think you've got the dates and the numbers correspond with everything, yeah.
I like the sort of catchy, like kick, things to make it people interested too.
Are we
I
allowed
think-
to put a logo on it? Kind of Topsham logo or something to
Sure.
make it look official?
That's easy enough. The only question I had, which I think is important for people, and I don't think they read it even though it's there, that our mission clearly states affordable. And I think those are things we have to keep saying, that we're not, so that the activity that we're hearing from the other side that the select board's hearing, I think it's important that they hear we're not looking for anything that's not out of the ballpark. We're looking for something that's affordable that provides these things, exactly what our mission statement says.
Maybe that needs to be at the top.
That's what I'm thinking. But I
Yeah.
don't know how other people, it's your document, I'm just.
No, when I started it, it was at the top, and then I think as we started playing with it, it just kept moving down, so I think it should be at the top as well.
Okay,
Maybe, maybe within that sentence of the mission of the community center, where it says to identify accessible, affordable, sustainable, maybe we just, and it's probably minute, but maybe if we just bold those
Oh, yeah. that
You
was-
know?
yeah.
and just say, hey, draw your eye there that's what we're looking at.
so Pam, does it go to you now? Allison can make the changes, I think, I can add the logo. Did you send it to me as a PDF or as a?
No, I probably sent it to you as a Word, but I
Okay,
can,
I
I can change it to
can
a
work
PDF.
with it as a Word document, no problem, and I can do most PDFs, but I'll take a look tomorrow and see, okay?
Let me know if you need any
Sure.
notes from me. So the goal on that will be to add the fact sheet to the town page with the logo on it, and then I started
Create
to
a
look in
postcard.
Canva, but I didn't really find anything, but I don't have the Premiere one that you do, so
Okay,
if you have time.
sure.
This looks awesome. It's gonna be very helpful. I think it's important for, easy for us
Yeah,
to just send out.
Would you like a copy of this tomorrow?
One thing, I was trying to think of a way to word it, I just don't know how to craft it off the top of my head, but some kind of statement that's like, this is not, we're not building a community center.
right,
But in order to find out if a community center is feasible, we have to go through all of these steps. And
right,
this is what I have to, I love doing it, it's just a simple reminder. I think people freak out when they hear, this is gonna cost me $2,000 a year in taxes, and then they start exaggerating everything, going into a fear-based mongering, and it's a tough place, but we're just going through a process. There's no guarantee on anything at this point, and I think hearing everything is a valuable way to indicate that message could be probably something in the forefront, just so that people can stop thinking, oh, we're getting this and we're wasting taxpayer dollars, when some people's minds, we have a library that is a community center already. And it's, there's a lot of things that are behind the scenes. But I don't know how to word it, I just think something simple that's like, this doesn't guarantee the fact that we're building a community center.
Yeah.
It's just, but we have to go through the process, and we have to
Right.
allow the process to finish properly, because we're at the phase where we're looking at building sites and how much is that gonna cost? We won't know until we go to the next step, and it's just one of those things that we have to finish the process completely to have a more accurate idea of A, what the cost is going to be, and B, how it's gonna be funded. Those are the biggest questions, but it takes years to figure that out. And I don't think people realize that, so
and I
just,
think that's easy, I think I was trying to think of a way to do that within the context of all the documents that I'd already read. But I
gotta do
can,
it here.
I can do that, I can move it up to the top, I'll try to play around with a sentence that I think encapsulates we're not building a building, we're going through a process.
Yep.
And then
Yeah,
I'll send
great.
that back to you,
For the
and
people
then,
that can't read between the lines, you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
and
Well, that's what I
highlight
was
those
hoping the
words.
mission statement would do, but you may need to more boldly put it there.
Yeah.
We've also updated the mission statement in the past when it no longer fit what we were doing. And we could always add something to it if we feel that's necessary.
I would put you emphasis on the mission statement, because you guys are an ad hoc committee, so you're given a charge and a term. So really, your mission is your charge. You know, I think there's been some confusion in the past, with some other committees that think they're writing their own, whatever they're doing. So I'd say, I wouldn't spend a lot of time. on the mission statement.
So I'll wait for you, Allison.
And then we'll look to create postcards with the QR code and the actual write out for those that don't know how to use it.
What if we said something like, the community center committee is working to evaluate the feasibility of building a community center. There are many steps in this process, below are the steps we've completed so far. Something like that.
Something like that.
That's great.
That's good.
I know it's on one sentence.
You were
It
on
says
a
it.
roll.
Yeah, take that,
Great.
quick.
Now can you say it again?
I wrote it down.
Ask the paper man.
I don't know that anybody could read it. The community center committee is working to evaluate the feasibility of building a community center. There are many steps in the process. Below are the steps that we've completed so far.
Thank you.
I'll wait for you.
I have one more thing.
No, I meant to send that to me.
Yes.
I think, I'll add this here if that's okay, that I have, between Lynn and I, we have 3 articles where the community center has had articles in the paper. And I don't know what we wanna do with that, if we wanna just know that we have them, or if everybody wants to read them. I don't know if just to know what people are saying, I don't know how
Do
to
you
share
have
them.
them and I can scan them and share them with everybody?
Yep.
We don't get printed versions here, so.
Kind of from the budget.
Right.
I will be happy to scan these and send them out to you tomorrow.
One of them is two
Two. Yeah,
parts, yeah.
And I can just continue to bring those in or get them to Pam.
that would be great.
Okay,
Thank you.
I can screenshot them to you and send them, okay.
Anything else on the fact sheets for now?
We talked one time about timeline. Instead of facts.
Well, that really is a timeline.
Time.
Part 1, what happened in
Usually
2019.
the
I
word
mean, I
timeline.
think they kind of made, yeah.
Fact sheet sounds awesome.
Well,
Yeah,
that
it does.
came from Ryan, that came from Ryan, one of your suggestions, to
Timeline.
Oh.
have a fact sheet.
Oh.
I'll think of some snazzy word we can call
Okay,
it.
process and, right.
A factual
Education.
timeline.
There you go. We could put in a title instead of fact sheet, we could say something like process timeline, and then that emphasizes the process again.
Evaluation process.
Noted. Play with it.
R&D.
Great, now we can move on to our community center business.
All right.
Kathy, you wanna talk about,
Oh, yeah, we didn't get to Waterville, but actually Julia had a basketball tournament there, so I took a few pictures. They were over, it was beautiful, I mean, Alphond,
Hello.
I wish he lived in Topsham.
At some point,
They
maybe
were
you
overrun with equipment, exercise rooms. There was one huge one for adults and then kind of a smaller family one. And that was one thing we thought we could not have on ours since there were so many fitness centers in town. And the strange thing, it was an early Saturday evening and the pool wasn't even open. So I had to take some pictures through the pitch dark, but I think you can see it, so. It was very impressive, very, very well done. very busy, very active. Thumbs up all the way around, it was really good.
Kelly in my office's niece is the program coordinator out there, her name is Beth, but Mark knows the Y. Is it the
Correct.
Y or the Boys and Girls Club?
Well, both, right, so
They both exist there.
it's integrated. In fact, what Alphonse said, in fact, that Carol was still alive when they formed, they actually took the Boys and Girls Club and the Y, and he said, I won't fund the two separately. If you agree to join together, then I will fund that. And so that's what they did. And so that was the beginning of it. And then that they expanded recently, about probably almost 5 years ago now, adding a lot more wellness and health and wellness, as well as fitness too. So it went from being the Alphonse Youth Center to being the Alphonse like youth and community center. So they kind of expanded their mission at that time to include cooking classes. They offer, I mean, they've got childcare, they've got Health Partner Maine General has a small clinic inside of it, and then a whole range of fitness activities as well.
And it was town land, right, I believe,
Correct.
that's because I
Yeah.
remember I knew the Parks and Rec director at the time, and they took a portion, because you'll notice if you're looking at the building to the right are fields still.
Correct.
That belong to the town, so. And the splash pad, I think, is managed by the town.
Town as well.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk South Portland or?
Yeah, I'm pulling the pictures off.
That's why.
Sorry, guys, I'm still learning how to use the iPad for Zooms.
While she was
Lynn.
in
Yeah,
South
Madeline
Portland, had a
was you
therapy
and
pool as
Kathy.
well as a regular pool.
Yes. And
So two separate rooms.
Thought I had this down. There we go.
There we go.
I'm gonna jump around a little because my pictures are, when you enter the South Portland Community Center, this is the greeting desk. We were told, Anthony Johnson, who is the director in South Portland, gave us the tour. Heather, Kathy, Lynn, and myself all attended. And Anthony walked us through, we probably spent maybe 45 minutes to an hour, it was just about an hour tour on the history. I learned a lot of things I didn't know about it. But this structure actually had a pool that was built in 1978. The pool was first, and then they added on after that. So that's kind of the history. So this is your entryway with the greeting desk. This is their pool. They have a 6-lane pool. They don't call it a Olympic sized pool, but they do hold competition in this. And you can see they also, if you can see the cones off in the far right there, that's actually a ramp so that it is handicapped accessible. You can see they have bleachers for people to spectate there. And they also, now you can see it kind of comes forward. Oh, I got, sorry.
Just cap.
Sorry, they're not in order, so I apologize, guys, I'm sorry. I didn't have time, I got them in there and at the wrong end, I guess.
Kathy again.
This is what we were talking about, there's an, in the actual pool area, there's a men's and women's locker room, but when you enter from outside, this is a small family, or gender diverse section, so that people can use this area and there are separate lockers for them to enter this area. Now we've come through the hallway and there down in front of us here is the entrance to the men's and the women's locker room. And you can see the stairwell going up to another set of observation,
Oh, so that's more seating up there.
more seating up there.
It's a lot.
And that one is, so there actually is access from the second floor to get in there.
Do they have a second floor at the facility for?
The second floor actually had a walking track. This is,
Sounds like the back
so
line.
this is, you know, you can see here. And this is the one room that is upstairs. It used to be the teen area. But they now have moved the teen area into a different community center. They acquired the Red Bank School down there, and that has become the teen youth area.
Is that
So
a
they-
video?
Pardon?
Is it a video?
Well, I think
Football, kids.
be walking
Yeah.
around, so.
I do that
Pushing the wrong button. It just gave me a question, was there any thought to some mezzanine that could go between pool and gymnasium so that rooms can go underneath, mezzanine go on top, the roof is gonna span over that for height?
Yeah, potentially, we haven't got to that level of detail yet, but that is a possibility, and again, what we'll have to do is just look at adding stairs to it. Yeah, a mezzanine, in the truest sense of the word, from a code perspective, has to be contiguous to a level that it's open to, and it can only be 10% of the total area of the floor plan itself. It can't get larger than that, and then it starts becoming a separate level and requires a whole bunch of important code stuff. But yeah, that's a great idea, because you don't need as much volume in that area.
This is actually the room that you saw Kathy in. This is actually off of that. This is where they store their yoga, their fitness, any type of equipment that they do for classes. Mostly with seniors, they did fitness and exercise here with. This is the administration office. It's just a simple area that has 2 desks and a counter. And then the director's office is off to the right. This is on the second floor with the fitness room and that. And now I'm looking for the walking track. I think I lost it, I'm sorry to say. I think that's it, guys. I'm sorry. I thought I had more, but I don't see it. So Mark, I'm gonna drop out. There's a walking, when you went to the second floor, there was a walking track. It had an area that had lockers for people and chairs so that people could take their shoes off, put them in an area. They weren't allowed on the walking track without clean shoes, so to speak. I don't know why I don't have the gymnasium. Now I'm really bugged.
You'll probably remember the conversation better than me, Pam, but when I asked him what was free, the walking track was the only thing that was free to their town folks. Everything was on a punch card system, paid for. So I was saying, you know, our residents, once we get our building built, they're gonna want a lot of things for free, because they're already thinking they're paying for it in their taxes, so. I was really surprised that the walking track was the only thing included. Residents
And
just
South
come in.
Portland's
they-
managed by,
South Portland Parks and Recreation. They have a punch card that you get 20 visits, and they had it for the pickleball alone. Mark, can I join you from my phone instead?
Sure.
Cause it's all stuff that I took on my phone, so let me just go to the website and pick up. I'm sorry.
It's still your computer, I see right now. You're right, it checks out.
Oh, no, actually, you know what? Forget it. My brain, I panic when I have to share my screen. I'm being honest. Mark, I'm gonna stay and.
I'm gonna give you permission to get back in. It's funny.
You can see all my grandkids if you really want to. Okay, here we go.
Since you declined to be promoted,
I didn't, I was searching, sorry.
just sent a new invitation.
People keep talking about the amount of fitness centers in this town. Am I missing something? We only have one, right?
The one at the Topsham Fair Mall.
It's just Topsham Fair Mall, right?
Well, I guess you'd probably need to differentiate between like fitness centers and then trainers. 'Cause my husband works out with a trainer, but it's not at a fitness center per se.
You're taking this opportunity to brag about your husband.
No, not at all. He'd probably not be happy I was bringing him up.
So maybe that is I mean, Brunswick has them. Yeah. Planet Fitness and, you know, all the
Miller,
Miller, yeah,
Yeah.
that's new.
I've received phone calls from people saying, don't you think you're gonna hurt all the fitness centers in town?
There's
Well,
one on Elm Street.
How many gas stations do we have? How many grocery stores do we have? How many of the same stores do we have everywhere? One thing we limit is cannabis, and there's only two. Even that creates a problem, so.
Do you have,
I have
It's not
some,
even
yeah, from
I
a
think
few
this
years
town.
ago.
I think we need to be very conscious too of going back to our current mission statement where we say affordable. Cause I'm sure there's a segment of our population that can't afford to go to fitness centers.
I would agree,
I mean, I don't know what those numbers would be, but
and families to go to Miller's are like $100 a month.
Yeah.
If you do the family plan, but it's like $50 a month otherwise, by yourself.
Yeah.
That's the typical rate. It's a lot for some people,
for some people.
and fitness is arguably the best way to.
I just have
You
a
got
hard time
yours?
not
Okay,
considering a
Mark, do you
fitness
wanna
center.
promote me again?
Me too.
sorry. Knew it would.
It's been a few years, but.
I should just bring my laptop, cause I could do it very simply there, but.
You take something as small as FHC and that's a huge draw at that. I mean, their membership is massive right
What's that?
now. The old Bowden Community School.
There's a Y right next to the Brunswick Rec too, that has a basketball court that's never used.
And the fitness center is never used.
Soon to be, because there's an AAU team that's rented space there as of April 1st. Yeah,
Got maniacs.
no, ballers,
Is that-
Chris Baraboo. Actually, it has some Thompson kids on it and.
Is that yours?
and
It is.
that, yours. Baraboo.
This is all some
Girls.
but I've got a few.
Did you get any photos of the
Walking track and a pickleball court.
well,
This
not
is
really
South
that,
Portland
but-
now.
Yeah, it is, Mark's got it up there.
Okay, the what was it 60 and above section?
The seniors
The
center.
senior
Mark,
center
do you
part
have
of
the
it.
senior center too?
Yeah, I believe I do. Oops,
Okay.
let me try this.
He wasn't allowed in, he wasn't old enough.
It's all right. Share.
Didn't he tell us that they don't charge the seniors?
No, we did not say that.
That's-
They're free to come to the room to participate, but trips they pay for,
Trips
any
they
of
pay
those
for,
type of activities.
Yes.
So this is the seating, I think you saw already a portion of that from one side.
Pool seating.
Yeah, this is, I always look at the emergency egress maps because it gives you a floor plan, so it's always interesting to see, so you can see where the track above the gym itself and access to it, there's that stair right in the center. Maybe a little hard to see here, zoom in a little bit. And so, yeah, you come in, here's that center stair right in the front, brings you up to this level right here. And access to that elevated track right here. We'll get into some of these other spaces in a minute here. So the pool right there, that was the seating that we were looking at in the previous photo as well.
The
And when did you
black
say?
floored room is that floor, the room that was off to the left. Right here is the black floored room that used to be the teen center, and the weight room was here. These are bathrooms. This is the administration office in this area with other storage areas on the second floor.
Pam, when did you say it was built?
Pardon?
When did you say it was built?
The pool was built in '78. And then they've gradually added on, I think Mark, what is it, 80, I wanna say it was 89?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
88 or 89, I think the rest of it
Yeah,
was.
3.1. So you can see this shows the walking track so we're in the gym itself, you can see the divider curtain, and some of the bleacher seating as well.
And this is filled with pickleball courts, and they have someone, you're only allowed in one door during pickleball time. And they actually have a guy that sits at the door and punches your card to allow you in and make sure you've paid, otherwise you gotta go back out and meet Stella at the front desk. It's really quite, and they were watching them very closely. Now this, at the time you were there, was the youth room. This now is the senior area, and these are the they got rid of the cubbies to the left. And they have these cubbies for them to put their coats in, and then they have a kitchen straight ahead there now for the senior center. This whole section is at the very back of the building with access and everything. And they have 3 rooms off of this that they were playing mahjong, they were reading in one, and there was an empty one, but there were 3 rooms off to the left. And there's, where the guy is standing, there is actually now a kitchen area with a hooded area and everything. So they've turned that into the seniors. This is the conference, this is the room off the first floor. It's a multi-purpose room. They used to run their senior center. You can see the bingo board back there in the back. They used to run the senior center there, but this is now filled with tables and chairs. The week we were there was what they were running their youth camp, vacation camp, and this was the room they were using to run it out. I don't know that.
That's if you turn right, cause
Yeah.
that's the kitchen.
Okay,
The
alright.
window to the kitchen, so it's the same room.
Okay.
It's just, that's the doorway. The doorway's blocked off right there, and then if you would, when you enter the room and turn right, that's
Yeah.
what you would see.
Do you know what a card costs them? The punch card?
I don't know if they have.
No, but she gave me calendars and they do like a thing like their meeting adult ed does, a little booklet thing,
Oh, I have,
so. Yeah, their winter spring booklet,
nice.
so I'm sure I haven't read it yet.
I can pass these around. These are the senior January through April trips. And their drop-in center activities.
Yeah.
And the pool schedule, so. Thanks.
Daily fee for pool and aerobics classes. Adults is $5, children's and seniors are $4. For residents, non-residents are $6 and $5. So that's the daily fee.
Yeah, and then the 20 punches, they break it down for youth up to age 17, and then they go 18 to 59, and then they go seniors, and then they do an open gym one. So residents are anywhere from $50 to $70, and non-residents $70 to $90
For 20.
for 20 punches, yeah. We also offer a military rate at a $1 drop-in for open gym and swims. And then it's funny too, because their indoor track, South Portland residents are free. Non-residents under 60 have to pay $1
For use.
per use. And
Those are prices that feel reasonable.
yeah,
You know, I like that. That's,
Yeah.
so to play pickleball is $5, say it's $5, you know, it's.
And the interesting thing that they explained with the operations is that, other than the pool, the facility is South Portland has he Jeff Emerson, which what Mark used to do as a facility manager. And that manager manages the custodial staff and all of the regular maintenance. And if there are HVAC system issues or anything like that, they call him. They don't manage it. Anthony doesn't manage it himself. He has someone that manages facilities and they take it on.
He did say too, speaking of facilities, the one thing that they kind of regret is they don't have air conditioning. So those rooms that are upstairs had a bunch of fans spread out. So
They
that
were
was
doing
their,
hot yoga up there.
yeah, absolutely.
I think other than the building itself, the one thing that I took home from that was their pride in their staff. He raved about his senior person, the person in charge of all the senior activities, they love her, and he went on and on and on for 10 minutes about how dedicated she was. And then he talked probably 15 minutes about those sweet lady that's been at the front desk for 31 years or
Yeah,
something like that. So staff was
Yeah.
a huge bonus.
And Anthony's history as the director, he came from Freeport as the assistant director. Then became the director in Freeport and then moved to South Portland. So he's been there for 7 years,
Since.
9 maybe. But he was an assistant director and then took the director's position.
Probably since somebody we know retired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, was Bill ever the director or was he the assistant? Did he take it over when Dana left?
Thought so,
Dear.
but I'm just, that's why I was asking, I was curious if.
Allison's uncle Bill, who I know, was the assistant, and then I think he stepped up as director for a couple years after Dana left. And now Anthony is there.
Yeah, I was just curious if he might have insight he could share with the community on their process, cause wasn't he there for a very long time?
Bill?
Yeah.
Very.
So I'm wondering if he has insight.
Thank you for keeping it moving, Mark.
Yeah, well, it was mostly pool, which you'd already seen anyway, so.
Yeah.
But I may have some photos of Waterville too, so let's see if I can find those if people are interested.
Find my folder for things that I've gotten from you guys this growing up.
I wonder when the conversations will come, like as I see here, this is their staff directory. You know, that we, we'll need to picture that and think about that.
Yeah.
Figure that out.
He did explain that the front desk used to have 3 people in there. And when COVID hit, one of them retired or left and the other one went part-time, so that they now have 1 full person and 2 30-hour people. So that the need to pay benefits is not there, and there are people who don't need that component, so that's how they made it affordable.
This difference is also the cost to build, because the pool's been there since the '70s.
Right.
Right.
And this right build.
And I wanna say that they went through a pool renovation project maybe about 10 years ago.
It's one of the things the select board's hoping to hear, is estimated staffing costs too, but that would be listed for that.
Yeah, we'll get some of that too. So this is Waterville, this is a little hard to see, but this is a joint between the expansion where they actually put the day lockers. So that's what those gray bank of lockers is there. And then this goes up to the adult fitness area at the end of the hallway here. And the administrative offices are behind this door right here.
I know which hallway we were in now.
Okay. So this is at the end of the lobby, looking in, they happen to have it set up for hockey at the time, so they actually had a plastic ice surface down that they could actually skate on.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
It's like in Freeport.
Yeah, what they did for LLB last year.
So, it's
It's not yet.
It's
not
not
fun,
fun.
it's not
It is
skating.
really not fun.
We're
No,
doing
it's
that.
not.
It's not
We don't need to do
now.
that.
So, this is up in the walking track itself, now they have a 3-court gym, with, seating underneath it, and the elevated walking track was added after the fact. This is one of the fitness rooms upstairs, so part of the addition, but has a line of mirrors on one wall, so it can be used for dance, or for yoga. This is their kids adventure zone. It had the ability to rent this out, it had a climbing wall, had a bunch of blow up structures in it, but this is where a lot of people would rent it out for birthdays and things like that. This is their cardio area.
It's huge. Oh, yeah, definitely.
This is the lobby where you walk in, and so we had seen that end of the.
Yeah, so those are restrooms, and on the other side of those restrooms, separated by a wall, is the pool in that locker room also, so it's sort of in the same footprint, but not together. They're separated by a concrete wall.
Yeah, whether we'll see it here or not. This is in their school or the after school
Aftercare.
zone, and so they've got access to several rooms called classrooms, but they're flexible. One of them's used for art, one of them's used for quieter study. Another shot of the gym. It's looking down towards the entrance itself, so the exterior.
Yeah, we're just talking about.
We went for one game and it was $10 a
W
person.
and Y.
So I'm always curious what sort of revenue these places generate for charging so much money for somebody just to watch it.
Walking right there. You know what I mean? We made that
Make
another
it
foot
fun.
wider.
It was $5 for the whole weekend last weekend at at CLC.
$10 each.
Unbelievable.
For a game.
Well, it was, you
Unbelievable.
could stay the whole time, but after Julia's game was over.
Well, and my understanding is that the Y and or the Boys and Girls Club don't actually administer the leagues, the AAU clubs do. So they basically rent the time from the facility and then charge the admission to run the tournament that they have there.
And it's all profit.
Right,
There's nothing that's
Yeah.
not profitable.
right.
So, but it is an accessible path. You can see that this was not actors, these were real people actually, with a stroller. And other people just walking community.
You've never been to this gym, Ryan, I'm sure.
Just another shot of that.
It's Waterville. Yeah, you can't play AAU basketball and not have been to this
I
facility.
just signed up today for our team and I said, not Alpha,
Oh, did
I
you?
won't play there.
Yeah,
It's too small.
This is the
Kids get hurt.
fitness area, or not fitness, it's in the healthcare clinic, so. Few exam rooms in that space.
They leave it to the little kids, it'd be fun. You can't wait for years on this place.
yeah.
I think that's about it.
Thank you.
That's freaking awesome. This is awesome. And then concessions right in the lobby, like you put the mirror diagram. Maximize everybody. It's hard to walk, no kid can walk by concessions.
And you know, I have to tell you, the tournament at CLC, there were no concessions and that shocked me because that is like, if you're having a tournament
Where?
up at San Moscata at the Y, if you're
I've been
having a
into that one.
tournament, that's something you have to make sheer profit,
A little bit.
except the minutes.
Yeah. Okay, so we can move on now, great. Motion to accept the minutes from February 3rd.
have one correction, Allison, and now I can't find it.
Not the one you already gave.
Oh, sorry. Oh, okay, so number 6. At the end of it, estimated time frame. The second sentence, it says with touched base with committee members. That was all I had.
Are you looking at the same one?
February
She said
3rd?
another one, yeah, she added. Not this one. Kathy, is there another notice over there? Because
I don't
Allison,
see
you
it.
sent me an updated one, right?
Yeah, after Lynn and I fixed it on Saturday.
Carolyn.
Is it on there? Yeah, it's still the same thing. Yeah, it is. It's still the same thing.
Under number 6,
Is that best of it?
Nope, you did.
oh, that number, no,
All right, you totally changed it. My bad. Before number 5, so it's number 4. Sorry,
thank you,
the end of number 4.
thank you,
You got it now?
yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I had a
Will
feeling you were
touch
looking at
base.
something
Got it.
different. Okay.
Minor, but
No, that's
Any
a
others?
motion to accept the minutes from February 3rd,
As adjusted.
as adjusted.
You can't.
Second.
I'm not voting.
I know, I'm just.
Just raising my hand, you're as adjusted.
Follow-up action.
Great.
Follow-up action steps, this is what I have written down, let me know if I missed anything. One is homework for leave for us to review the handouts prior to the next meeting, or feel free to cut and paste and take screenshots and send them to him. Pam to create a Google sheet of list of 4 fundraising ideas. We have one that would be ideas, one that would be potential corporate ideas, and then reach out to emails for those that had offered help in the past. Lynn to draft an email to previous survey respondents that were interested in participating to gauge future interest. Allison to send an email to Lynn with the name from the focus group, because otherwise I won't remember if I didn't write it down. Allison to add the sentence to the top of the fact sheet / timeline / whatever we'll decide to call it, about we're not actually building a building, but going through the process, and potentially highlighting some of the keywords within the mission statement as well. And then get it over to Pam so we can also create a postcard with links to the live document on the website
Put in the town.
and add to.
Wonderful, thank you. Next meetings, potential times would be, I guess, March 31st or April 7th.
March, let's see, 31st. The Topsham Trail Riders are at 6.
7th is better for me.
7th, good for everybody?
it's good for me.
And March 7th is fine, let's schedule.
There it is.
Conservation days upstairs.
Sorry, April 7th is fine.
Yes.
Could be March 7th too, if you want.
Perfect.
We're gonna stick with the 5:15, that seems to work for everybody.
Yep. That means we can adjourn this meeting at 6:52.